Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Femme Force Podcast. While preparing to launch this podcast, I batched episodes to ensure that I would have consistent content coming out for you. So I need to make a note about the amazing episode you're about to dive into. Every last one only had 15 dogs in care at the time this was recorded. Now, every last one has saved 71 dogs and have adopted 57 to their forever homes. A huge, huge change from 15 dogs. We're so proud of their team and the amazing people who have stepped up to foster. So while a lot of this is still relevant, they are definitely in a different place, and we couldn't be more happy or proud of Mandy, her team, and of all the dogs. So make sure to pay attention to that and give them a follow after listening to this amazing episode. All right. Welcome to the Femme Force Podcast. My name is Rachel Paskvian, and I am going to be your host. And I am so excited to welcome my guest, Mandy, to talk about her Pawsitively amazing journey with fostering. So, Mandy, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. We are going to talk about your journey with fostering, but Mandy and I met in college, different college, same sorority. So, shout out to Alpha Zeta Delta. And I've been following Mandy's journey in life and career for a while now. She was in the fashion industry. She was always the trendiest girl on campus. So she has gone from that to now saving every single dog in New York City as her mission. So Mandy, can you tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how it brought you to this stage with fostering?
Yeah. So actually, we officially launched the rescue 1 month ago from today. So how perfect is it to discuss all things rescue and dogs? Super excited. So I have been an avid dog lover my entire life. It's funny, my dad actually at our wedding, part of his wedding speech was one of his favorite memories with me was when I was too young to even walk. After dinner, we would get on the back of his bike and in the 1980s fashion, kid in the back of the bike, we would go around after dinner and we would just look for dogs. Like that was our thing. We would ride around the neighborhood and look for dogs to pet. So it's been a thing my whole life. Grew up with dogs. I have 3 of my own currently. About almost 2 years ago, I got involved with another rescue. I started fostering. It took a while to convince my husband to let me do it because he thought we would never give it up. We did. It was so hard. I cried for days and days before, but it was the most rewarding thing. And ever since then, I had continued fostering. I've had over, probably 25, 30 plus fosters. We adopted our second foster, who is our love of our life. Her name is Soda, from the rescue that I used to volunteer with. Throughout all that, I have always dreamed of starting a rescue. I thought it was nothing but a dream. And at 37 years old, I just kind of was like, you know what? I don't really care. I'm going to go after it. I'm going to start this nonprofit. There's so many rescues out there, but there's room for so many more. There's this space in New York City. There's so many dogs. The shelters are overwhelmed, crowded. If you saw it, it's devastating. There's cages stacked in offices, in the hallways, crates lined up, people surrendering their dogs left and right. And I just thought, you know what, there is room for a rescue organization that is here to strictly help the dogs in New York City. A lot of rescues bring them up from the South, and which is a really great cause, to a much more adoptable area like New York, where the awareness about adopting versus purchasing a dog is greater. But I felt like there was a need, so I started the rescue, and 1 month later, we have 15 dogs in foster care. We actually picked up 2 today that were on the euthanization list. The community rallied around them. That's amazing. Yeah, we found great fosters for them. We're super excited. So it's been a really emotional, fun day. And they are resting easy in their foster homes.
Oh, well, happy 1 month birthday. This is awesome. And what were the initial challenges you feel like to starting a nonprofit? You came from a corporate background, so going into starting not just a business, but a nonprofit has to be a very different experience.
Totally. Honestly, I just kind of dove right in, and I had the support of some amazing women behind me who had been championing for me, listening to my dreams and, telling me that this could be a reality. And I just kind of, was like, I'm going to start one day at a time. And honestly, it was having volunteered and been really involved in another rescue was super helpful. I learned so much from doing that. And I just was like, you know what? I feel that I have the experience to do it. I'm going to learn every single day. And I reached out to the founder of another organization in New York who focuses a lot on New York dogs. And she has been such an amazing mentor to me. Shout out to Second Chance Rescue,
Oh,
Jen
that's awesome.
Brooks, huge inspiration. She took my call and I basically hung up the phone with her. I was like, I'm going to do it. So I just went for it. And, the paperwork for a nonprofit is crazy and just dove into it. But I knew I had the support of some amazing women behind me.
That's so amazing. And you started off as a dog foster, you said first before starting the nonprofit. What is an experience of like, what is it like to be a dog foster where you know you're going to have to give this dog up, but you know you're trying to set it up for a better life and to bring it into your home with, and you have two other animals that were already permanent members of your family.
Yeah. Being a foster, it's the most rewarding experience. And it is such an emotional roller coaster because the first 3 days of bringing a new dog into your home are crazy. You're excited, you're nervous, especially if you have other dogs. You don't really know what to expect. Um, it's exciting, but at the same time, you're also anticipating that they're not going to stay with you forever. Am I going to be sad? Am I going to be happy? But then when you find them the best forever home, I truly believe that there is a home for every dog out there, every single one, every last one, should I say? And it's so hard giving them up because they become, whether they're with you for 10 days or 3 months, or even, people foster dogs for years at a time till they get adopted. They become a part of your family. And it's just, you love them like they're your own until they're not. And that's just how you treat it. And it's challenging, incorporating a new member of your, into your family. And you just kind of hope for the best, and being able to watch that dog open up and decompress. And half the time they've never been able to be a dog before. They've never been, they may
Yeah.
not have had a chew stick or a toy or felt love. And to see that, it's so rewarding, that you just kind of, you know slowly anticipate the adoption day. And then when they find their best home, you're so happy, and it's addicting, and you do it again and again and again. And occasionally, and you find your soul dog while you're doing it, like I did with mine, and you just know that there's no other home that would be better for them than your home, and you adopt them yourself.
Foster failure. We love that though.
Yes, foster fail.
It
It
happens,
is.
I've heard. When
Yeah.
you're going into being a foster parent, or when you yourself are helping these dogs go to foster homes, what does someone need to be prepared to take a dog in? Do they need to have the food and the space? Like, what is the checklist for them to become a
Yeah.
foster parent?
So I think that's like a little bit of the misconception, that people think that they need to have, especially in New York City, well, I have a small apartment, or, there's not a lot of grass, or I work in the office now, I can't foster. It's really not the case. I think we forget that pre-COVID, like we all went to the office every single day, and we all had pets and animals, and they adapt to your schedule. But being prepared, so every last one, we are committed to our fosters. We provide all the basic supplies, 24/7 support and guidance through our foster mentor channel. We're there to answer any questions, so our fosters never feel alone. Having that resource, I think, is huge. Just feeling like you are able to ask any questions, or if you're having a tough day, being able to talk to someone and lean on the support of the community. Someone else might be struggling with the same thing. But yeah, in terms of that, it's like really fostering is just providing a safe, loving environment for that dog to thrive and open up and patiently wait till they find their family that's going to love them forever. And if you can give them a space, a couch to crash on, a warm, loving environment, you can dedicate time to, their training or, just being able to provide that for them, you can foster. Like I can understand how people think it is a huge commitment. It really is, but you're
It can be
setting
overwhelming. Yeah.
people up for success, and it's a responsibility for sure. Um, but I think that people think, oh, I just can't do it. I don't have the space. And it's not true. Like anywhere is better than the shelter if you're loving and care about animals. We need more people out there to do it. Honestly, biting the bullet and doing the first one is the hardest. And then after that, it's an addiction and you just can't
Keep
imagine
going and keep
living
going.
without.
I love that. And you said that you work together as a community. How have you brought about fostering that kind of community?
Yeah. So when I started the rescue, community was a huge part of it. Um, I knew I couldn't do this by myself. I knew I couldn't do this without an amazing group of committed, like minded animal lovers who have the same passion for saving dogs. And I know there's more people out there, and we want to reach them, and we want every last one to be a space that is more than just a fostering or a rescue experience. We want it to feel like people are meeting new friends. And, in a place like New York City where there's millions, sometimes it can feel like it's hard to find, that group or, another outside connection from your basic friend group. But to be able to connect with people in all different boroughs and neighborhoods of the city, and come together over one common goal is saving the dogs. It's really, really special and it's great. And fostering that experience, I think, it people tell their friends and they might want to get involved, and just being able to have that other group that you can rely on, and call your friends and community. It's really special. I think, especially in like adulthood,
Yeah.
it's hard to find that. So it was really important to me. I've met some amazing people who I never would have met if it wasn't for fostering and rescuing.
That's amazing. And when you're fostering and you're alleviating like all the overcrowding that's happening like within these shelters, do you feel like there should be more neutering going on? Like how are we trying to prevent the overcrowding so
Yeah,
that way we don't have to always find temporary homes for them and they just have homes?
I wish I had the answer to that. I think that is like a bigger problem than one rescue can just solve. Spaying and neutering is so key. I think we're already past that. There's so many dogs out there, but bringing awareness to spaying and neutering, I think also, and a lot of the dogs we rescue are big, stigmatized, bully breed dogs. Like that
Yeah.
is, you know, uh, people have this misconception, and so bringing awareness to these breeds is also something that's extremely important to me. Um, it,
Because your rescue she's of the bull mix, correct?
She is, yeah. She's an American Bully Pit Bull mix. Yep, and she's the sweetest thing in the whole world. Like the funniest, silliest, goofiest dog. And truly, like 99.999% of these dogs they're just not given the chance. And I think with advocating for that, it's super important. But in terms of reducing the population in the shelters, I think right now we're just like fighting this situation where rescues are so overwhelmed. Every single rescue is. There needs to be more awareness, I think, around the commitment of what it takes when you adopt a dog.
Yeah.
You wouldn't give up your child because they're behaving badly or they need training. Animals are the same. And everyone should, if you're going to adopt a dog, it's a lifetime commitment. And being able to commit to that is super important. It, helps
It's a
reduce.
lot of work.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of work. And, as much as I want to get all of these dogs adopted into the best home, like I feel strongly that finding an organic connection between a dog and an adopter and someone who's willing to put in the work is really important to help prevent dogs being returned back to the shelter.
Do you feel like it should be stricter? Like, should people be stricter when they're applying for adopting for a dog? Or
Yeah,
if they're fostering, like to
I
look
think
at them
that
and be like,
rescues themselves like do a really good job at screening. People, you never really know. I mean, situations do arise and it happens. I think that people need to understand that taking on a pet is it is a
Yeah.
serious commitment. It's not, an
It's a
emotional
life.
decision.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
life.
I was at the shelter today, excuse me, and while I was waiting to pick up our dog to take him to foster, and there was a woman surrendering a dog who she adopted yesterday, and I overheard her talking to someone else in the lobby, and her reason for surrendering him back after one day of adopting him was that he has been chasing squirrels.
He's a dog.
He's a dog, and it took me everything in my power to just hold it back. But, I think also people need to understand when you rescue a dog, it's not going to be all fun and games and rainbows at first. Like they
Mhm.
have to adjust. There's a decompression period. And I think we are doing a really good job at making sure that people know that there's going to be ups and downs, and dog's not going to come into your home and it's just going to, be easy.
Yeah. And since you've been fostering and you continue to bring in, how has this like affected your lifestyle? Like, do you try to be home more? Like, do you travel less, or do you have like different plans that you make so you can do the things that you love to do?
I mean, yes, I think that's also a big thing for people. They think, oh, if I'm going to, foster, like I can't travel, I can't, go out, I can't keep, my same lifestyle, which is absolutely not the case. In my current days, you might not believe it, I'm a homebody now. So we're home a lot. So that's helpful. But also, dogs get used to your schedule. So
Yeah.
as long as they're on a schedule, like you can you can still go out, you can still travel. We have relief fosters, as we call them, which are fosters for those particular times when you might have a weekend trip and you're getting out of town and you need someone to look after your foster, so like you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about that. We
That's
try
so
to cover
nice.
that. Yeah.
So because you've been a foster parent, you've figured out all of like the ins and outs of like,
Yeah,
this is the kind of support I would have wanted or needed.
definitely. Like this is something I feel like I wish I had, or I felt comfortable with, being able to do, or just it's one of those things you learn along the way. But yeah, I think like the resources and support while you're fostering are super key to just feeling comfortable and feeling like you can still maintain your current life, and you're just adding another temporary member to your home.
And when you said you're working on advocating, especially for these bully type breeds, what kind of education are you promoting for like responsible pet ownership?
Yeah.
Is this something that's part of your program?
Yeah, so actually, one thing that is super important to me that I've learned throughout my fostering rescue journey is training is really key, especially when you have a big, strong dog. Whether they're the sweetest dog or they have behavioral issues, being a responsible pet parent when you have a dog that is possibly labeled as a stigmatized breed, a bully breed,
Mm.
it is your job to be responsible for that dog, um, and making sure that people around feel safe. It's unfortunate. I've had people cross the street when I'm walking my dog because she's a pit bull breed. Um,
Yeah.
it hurts my feelings sometimes for the dogs, but I think like responsible parenthood is super key. And we are providing with all of our adoptions, we have a trainer on staff who we're
Wow.
providing a free complimentary training session for our adopters to be able to use once they adopt their dog, and have those resources to be able to feel comfortable that, they can have a training session. And oftentimes it's like the littlest thing that needs to be tweaked. And
Yeah.
I experienced it myself. I let my dog drag me down the street for 6 months till finally I was like, this is not,
Normal. She's
yeah.
walking
And
you.
she walking me. And now she walks incredibly. Like it was life changing. So yeah, providing training, whether they want to use it or they feel they need it, but that option being there I think really gives a lot of peace of mind to people, especially with these like bigger, stronger dogs.
That's amazing. And do you feel like in New York City, there's more of a dog demand because people are in these small apartments, like you said, or like they're not finding that friend group and they need that kind of companionship?
Yeah, I think like in New York, like everyone, it goes two ways. Like some buildings have restrictions on like dog breeds and dog sizes, and the dog breed restriction is really something that um, I would like to advocate for in the future. I think, I don't know, I'm not going to
Yeah.
change the politics of it, but I think it's you shouldn't be restricted just because of a breed. It's discrimination, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in New York, like especially like as a former New Yorker,
Hmm.
lots of people have dogs, and a lot of buildings are dog friendly. You can bring your dog anywhere, inside a restaurant, to the nail salon with you, everywhere you go. Get your eyebrows done, she sits with you. It's like
Like
super
you're on a little
dog
spa
friendly.
day with mom, and I love that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just like, please don't pull while I'm getting my eyebrows done.
Like mommy needs both of them, not just one. It's very important.
Yeah, yeah, but I think the thing about New York, is there is a awareness around adopt, don't shop. So I think that's great. I think that like, down in the South, it's not as much. There's just people are not as aware. And I think, I myself, I don't think I was aware until the past, 10 years of,
Mhm.
I don't, it's just, it's become, it's, the more you know and the education around it. But yeah, I think that there is, I would say like so many people in New York, like if they don't have a dog, want a dog. And
I
so
get that.
you can help with that.
Do you feel like I just spaced on my question? Um, I'm thinking of it. This is why we edit too.
Yes.
You're thinking of the question. Um, do you feel like your background? Oh, that's what it's. Do you feel like after having three dogs, like, is there a certain number where you're like, I'm capped out at, or your husband is like, eight's enough, Mandy? Like, maybe.
I know. Yeah. So we've had 7 dogs at once. And I think that was like our max. That was a lot. Um, I think in terms of we'll always have a foster. This is currently right now I don't have a foster, and I'm literally dying to have one back. Like it's killing me. It's just something special. I think also too because my 2 dogs that are old, they're senior ladies. It kind of gives them a little life. They feel like they can boss it around or like let them know that they're in charge, and it just like puts a little pep in their step.
Love that.
Instead of like lounging all day, they're like on guard and like, hey, like we have to like get up and move. And then Soda, our other dog, it just like gives her someone to like play with. And she was a mama a few times over, so she loves having puppies around. It's the cutest thing to watch her with them, and so it's like it's rewarding in that sense too. I think for people who have a dog and they're like, oh, can I foster? I have one. It's like it's oftentimes it's great for your dog. It's socialization. It gives them another outlet to get out their energy. And yeah, it might be a little more work for you. You have to maybe do 2 walks, extra walk, with your other dog. But my husband said that we're capped at 4, like owning 4. We can always have 4. So eventually we're going to find our perfect 4th dog. Um, I always, every time we have a foster and they leave, I'm like, by the way, is this our dog?
Or
Um,
we weren't sure.
I'm like,
Maybe
is
bring
this
it
one
back.
it? But I also too, like in New York, it's like, you can't, like having 7 is wild. Like, it's wild.
You look like the dog walker down the street. They're like, all right, okay.
Honestly, I think like so I'm pretty sure people think I am a dog walker.
Yeah,
Like
it's a good
and I
job.
I love it. But like I do, like I think that people see me like, you kind of run into the same people at the same time. So, you got your
Mhm.
routine, and I'm like definitely think I'm the dog walker, and they probably think I'm walking other people's dogs, but it's like there's
You're like, no, these are all mine. This is my tribe.
yes. And I
I
know, and
think.
my only 2 of them will walk at the same time, and they will all walk at different paces. So it's like separate walks, like up and down, up and down.
So they're
which is
like, oh, she's
also
another
great
dog.
too, because it forces you to get out, like go for a walk. It's like, oh, I don't want to go, like do it. And then you're like, I'm so glad I like got out, got fresh air, after dinner, go for a 30-minute walk. It's
It's
also,
good for your health. These dogs are good for
yeah,
your health.
it is. And it brings this, like it's just like another sense of joy. It's like seeing another being be cared for and happy, and, like the little things, like enjoying like the smelling, the flowers for the first time. It's something that when you experience it, your heart opens in a different way.
It's amazing. And what kind of plans do you have for the future? Like, where do you want to see this go? Do you just what you want to rescue every last one? But do you
Every
want like a large facility? Do you want like this to expand? What do you think?
Honestly, I'm so proud of where we are in just 1 month, taking in these dogs. And I want to build this community. I want to build awareness. I want to have more fosters so we can save more dogs. I think that is like our key growing point right now, is like having people who are willing to step up and foster so we can save every last one. I would love to one day have a standalone, rescue center. That's the dream. But for right now, I think this foster-based rescue and the way we're operating is great. Like as long as we can just keep saving them, and you know, um, being able to help clear the shelters, we're doing our part. I think I have to remind myself all the time that saving one dog is saving one life. Like it's
Yeah.
just even one, so every last one, or 5 or 10 or 500, like we're doing the work. And that's the most you can ask for.
And how does it feel if a dog just isn't in the right space to be fostered or adopted? What is the process like that?
Like it happens. Like there's time, especially like being in New York, like it's tricky. Some dogs are like very triggered by, the sounds and whatnot. Sometimes, when you foster, like there things happen, they don't might not fit in with your current dog. We That's like the really tricky part of running a rescue. It's like for me, what happens when we have a foster and they take a dog, and what if they back out? Like that's my anxiety. What if they don't want to do it anymore? What if they can't commit long term? So it's been really important to build out that support in those cases, so we never have to put our dogs into boarding. Like
Yeah.
we don't want them to go back into a kennel lifestyle. So having those relief fosters, building that network of people who may not be able to foster full time, that's totally fine if you can't foster full time. But if you can help out for a weekend or a week, having those resources lined up in those emergency situations helps tremendously to support the people who are able to take on a dog full time, knowing that God forbid something happened, like the dog, all right, we have another foster, like we'll move the dog for the week that you're gone, or you have a wedding to go to, like no problem. Like
We've got a
so
community to
Cheryl's
help.
gonna take him for the week, and it's a great foster that we've vetted, and they're gonna be great. And then they can go back to your home, or if you can only watch a dog for temporary foster for a month, like we just like to know in advance so we can plan, and we plan accordingly. Ideally, it's like just having that plan in place in case anything happens, but it certainly is a challenge.
No, I believe it. And what is the adoption process like? Do people come to you? Can they test run? Which sounds like a car, but like, can you like trial it out to be like, is this going to work in our home before
Yeah.
committing?
So we can do foster to adopt. We like to know, so we ask our fosters when they apply to foster, like, are you interested in adopting your dog?
Mhm.
They can say yes, no, maybe. We keep all of our foster dogs, once we rescue them, for 10 days. We put them on a 10-day hold where they cannot be adopted, just because I think it's really important to give stability and decompression time, or if there's any health issues, just to be able to like work all that out before they go into an adoptive home so they're not bouncing around. Within those 10 days, we ask the foster parent, you have basically like 10, not necessarily 10 days to decide, but within those 10 days, like, are you considering adopting your dog? If you are, we always like to give priority to the foster parent to adopt their dog. If they're still not sure after the 10 days, like, the dog's listed for public adoption. And if they get an application to be adopted, like, we let the foster know after we screen them and say, hey, like, we think this is going to be a good fit for, Charlie. The foster then still has the opportunity to say, okay, like, sometimes that's all it takes is like,
Yeah.
you find out, oh my God, someone else is going to wants to adopt my dog. I just cannot see it elsewhere. And they have that opportunity to do so. And if not, then we screen them. We have experienced application screeners who are able to work at, if there's not a specific dog someone's interested in adopting, they can like match them with that dog. And then from there, we like to connect the potential adopter with the foster parent. And we stay on those threads. And that way the potential adopter can ask any questions, because truthfully, no one knows the dog better than the foster parent, right? Like, we're all
because
in
they've
the
spent the
community.
time.
They spend the day, like, they can answer any questions about their dog. And then from there, like, we schedule a meet and greet around the foster and the adopter's time frame where they can come meet the dog, spend some time with it, take it for a walk, do whatever it is, see how, they connect with the dog in person. And then from there, we, allow them some time to either think on it, or if they're like, we want to take the dog home, like, and they're already approved to adopt, like, they're able to take the dog home that day.
And where do you find the rescues? Are shelters calling you to be like, hey, we have a dog, it's on the list? Like, and are you going from like the highest on the euthanasian list to like the lowest? How does that work?
Yeah, so we are a New Hope partner with the NYC shelters here. So that means we're essentially a rescue group for them. We receive all of the intake forms. We see the dogs coming in. We see the emergency placement list is what they call it, which is dogs who might be, not necessarily like up for euthanasia, but they are struggling in the shelter. They're not adapting and they need out. There's some dogs that, being a New Hope partner, you have the ability, there's rescue-based only dogs where the dogs can only go into rescue. They're not open for public adoption. So we're supporting them in that way by being able to help with kind of some of the dogs that are, not just like open to public adoption.
Yeah.
Well, we get a lot of emails a day. We get a lot of public pleas. I know a lot of rescues don't necessarily take dogs like off the street, if you will, from owners surrendering them. But that is something that's important to me, keeping dogs out of the shelter system. So we've taken on 3 dogs that have been, one was a complete owner surrender, just didn't fit into their lifestyle anymore. And they wanted to give it to the shelter. And we said, no, like, we'll have
take it.
we'll put it into foster care. So that way that dog never had to see the inside of a shelter. We've taken 2 other dogs that were found dumped in a park. One was found in the Bronx, one was found in Brooklyn. Good Samaritans picked them up, took them in, and ultimately like did what they could, but they knew they couldn't keep them long term. So they were able to transfer them over to us, and we found fosters for them. So those dogs didn't have to go to the shelter as well.
That's just heartbreaking, just to think that you could just drop off.
Honestly, it's yeah, I can't fathom it.
No. And with the community that you're building, how, as a nonprofit, are you funding this? Is this through gifts that can be donated to you? Do you have like Amazon wish lists, that kind of thing?
So yeah, that's also the other challenge, is we are a nonprofit. We are strictly donation based. So every penny that people donate is going back to the dogs. It's going to current foster care, supplies. It's going to, food and medical care and vet care. We vet all of our dogs. So it adds up. It's tricky. And ultimately, like, because we're foster based and donation based, like, we can only save as many dogs as we have fosters for. We can only save as many dogs as we have funds for. It limits us if there's a dog that has medical issues. we try to fundraise for that so we can pull them out of the shelter. We took a dog the other day with, she has really bad skin issues. She was never going to heal in the shelter. So we pulled her out, and that's, it's going to be a little bit of an expense, and we're just going to have to fundraise around it. It's difficult coming from, a background. Like now it feels like, you're always asking for something, asking for fosters, asking for adopters, asking for donations. But it's like every dollar makes a huge difference. Like if $5 provides, a toy, $20 provides a bag of food for a dog, it all goes back to them. So that is, I also know it's a lot to ask of people to provide that. But like I said, every single dollar counts.
So, no, but it's going to where it's supposed to go, straight to the dogs. So
yeah, it's all goes back to them. And it also allows us to be able to provide all of the supplies to the fosters because,
it's already overwhelming.
It alleviates the financial burden of a foster taking on a dog and feeling like, okay, well, now I have to pay for extra food and, wee pads and toys and a leash and a collar and, it all adds up. So if we can provide that to them and alleviate that like concern, I think it helps
big help.
People who are willing. And so it's super important to be able to provide those supplies and all the necessary medical needs.
And do you have like one heartwarming story besides your own, besides Soda, who was able to like come and, not just change her life, but your life, but one from this experience that you're like, this was worth it?
Honestly, like every single one is worth it to me. I'm going to reference one of the dogs we saved today. He went into foster care. His name is Charlie. He had been listed on the emergency placement list 5 times. He was not going to be relisted. Earlier this week, it was Wednesday, at around 5:00. And I was just like, we cannot let him go. Like he's a smiley, goofy meatball little guy. And he was a shelter favorite. Like the staff there loved him. He just wasn't adjusting well. His adjustments were turning into anxiety and behavior concerns, and he was not going to be relisted. We did not have a foster for him. We'd just taken in 4 dogs this week. Again, growing and being new, like I don't have that huge foster roster, if you will, but our community, our organization, like everyone stepped up. We posted him everywhere we could. Everyone on social media, we posted him in every Facebook group, on Nextdoor, and so many people rallied around. Like we had applications coming into foster left and right. We ended up finding at the 11th hour, I was able to extend his deadline. I said, can we please have till morning? Like I have somebody, I just need a little bit more time. We found the most amazing foster dad for him, and he was so generous and willing to bring him into his home. He came over this morning and he's doing great. It was just one of those, seeing the support and the outpouring from strangers, just being like, thank you for saving him. Like it's,
yeah.
And it was one of those, like, I just didn't know, like at 6:00 at night, I sat down and I was like, my husband was out of town. All the dogs were sleeping. I had the TV on mute, and I'm like, how am I going to tell our community, our volunteers, like, I don't think we're going to be able to do this. Like, I was like, I can't let everybody down. And it's, it takes a village to be able to do it. And it was honestly, like, it was not me. It was our volunteers that spent their whole day reaching out and posting him and eventually connecting me with his foster dad. So honestly, it was the universe. It worked out. I'm so excited to see how he opens up and flourishes. It's only been honestly a few hours, and his foster dad sent me a video of him like laying on the floor, playing with his new toy.
Having the best life.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
You've got to be so proud of yourself. You should be so proud of yourself. Like it's a really big deal what you're doing.
Thank you.
Again, literally saving lives.
I'm so proud, and I'm so grateful for the people who are willing to get involved and volunteer and give their time, because I know life is busy. We're all dealing with so much, and adding an added stress isn't like the last thing people want to do. But, I think the importance is to remember too, is that when you foster or you adopt or you rescue, like, you think you're changing the dog's life, but ultimately, like, they're changing yours. Like, they are making an impact on your heart, every single one in a different way. And it's just, they end up saving you, like you save each other.
That's the perfect way to wrap up. Thank you so much, Mandy. But the last question that we have on the Femme Force podcast is, if you could give advice to your 16-year-old self, just one piece, what would that be?
Oh my gosh, what would that be?
16-year-old Mandy.
I think I doubted myself and for a while that I could do this, and it would just be like, go for it. Like, you just have to start somewhere, and it's putting that one foot in front of the other, taking the initiative and just starting and seeing where you end up, and just being okay with things. It's going to be difficult, and there's going to be challenges, but yeah, just like taking the leap of faith, and trusting that the universe will work itself out. It sounds cliche, but it does.
Not at all.
And it's also okay to, I think for me, like, I was worried, like, can I essentially be starting over in my career at 37? Like, is it too late? Like, it's never too late.
No, and that's amazing. So can you tell our listeners where they can follow you at, so they can follow all these amazing dog stories?
Yeah, absolutely. We would love a follow. Sign up to foster, look at our adoptable dogs. You can find us on Instagram at Every Last One Rescue. And our website is everylastonerescue.org. And
Awesome.
Facebook, same, Every Last One Rescue. We don't have TikTok yet.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. It's only been a month.
Thank you so much, Mandy.
We're most active on Instagram.
Awesome. And I can't wait to see all these dogs that I know you're going to rescue, because I know you're going to rescue every last one.
We sure are. Thank
you
so
so
much.
much.